Hello everyone, God bless you all. I hope you do well. Let's start with Beowulf. Here, Beowulf summary. We study Beowulf poem from the Anglo-Saxon, the Old English, translated, but we don't know the author, so it's written by unknown author. So let's start with this short video. After that, we complete our lesson.
Beowulf is one of the most important works of Old English literature. It has influenced many contemporary fantasy works, such as the Lord of the Rings trilogy, and it has truly stood the test of time and delighted readers the world over. Beowulf was originally created by an anonymous poet. Scholars are at odds regarding when the poem was composed. Beowulf is believed to have been composed between 700 and 750 CE. Most of what is known about the author is derived from studying the time period in which Beowulf was written, and the methods and the poetic form of the piece. The poet was gifted in alliteration, which sets up a rhythm that begs for the poem to be performed and chanted, suggesting the story's origins stem from the oral tradition. Beowulf is the oldest existing Old English poem. The story takes place in Scandinavia, arguably between the end of the 5th and beginning of the 8th century. The mix of pagan and Christian traditions and values contribute to the difficulty of narrowing onto a single time frame. Now, in 2013, archaeologists claim to have found the ruins of Heorot, located in Denmark about 20 miles west of Copenhagen and dating to the 6th century. The poem was most likely written down by two monks in England. Handwriting analysis of the single medieval manuscript dated it to the early 11th century. The manuscript now resides in the British Museum and is one of, if not the most translated texts in human history. Original audiences likely sat by a fire and listened to an orator give the epic story the telling it deserved. The plot of Beowulf begins with the king of the Danes, Hrothgar, whose lands have been terrorized by an evil force named Grendel. A young Geat warrior, Beowulf, comes to his aid in repayment to Hrothgar for saving his father years ago. Beowulf calls on the beast, and without armor or weaponry, rips off Grendel's arm. The beast returns to its home and dies. Seeking revenge, Grendel's mother arrives the next day and kills one of Hrothgar's elders, taking Grendel's arm. Beowulf seeks her out and attempts to fight her. His sword, however, is ineffective against her. He grabs a magical sword hanging on her wall and slices off her head. Beowulf finds Grendel's corpse and takes his head as a trophy. The blade of the sword melts away, and he brings Grendel's head and the hilt of the sword to Hrothgar. Hrothgar showers him in gifts, and he returns to the Geats. After the fall of two Geat kings, Beowulf receives the crown. For 50 years, he maintains relative peace with the other kingdoms, until a dragon torments his land after a runaway slave steals from it. Beowulf goes to battle with the dragon, and all but one of his men flee. Beowulf and Wiglaf defeat the dragon, but not before Beowulf is poisoned by one of its fangs. He sees the spoils of battle one last time and gives his armor to faithful companion Wiglaf. The story ends much like it starts, with the death of a hero and an elaborate funeral. All throughout Beowulf, symbols mark critical notions of importance. Grendel himself symbolizes evil and jealousy, a descendant of Cain and therefore banished. The dragon symbolizes greed. He hoards gold and treasures, seeking out a single golden goblet. Heorot Hall is a symbol of happiness and pride, as well as distress. Some of the themes throughout Beowulf include the heroic code, the basis of Beowulf's action, and it consists of loyalty, pride, and glory. The theme of good versus evil is the contrast between Beowulf and Grendel, loyalty versus pride. Loyalty itself is a theme, the guiding force when the epic was written. Then there's the theme of death and defeat. The inevitable truth is that no one can escape death. And then hospitality. Visiting nobility and warriors expected hospitable feasts. Again, while not much is known about the individual who created Beowulf, it has had an indisputable and lasting influence upon literature for countless generations.
Okay, guys, so here let's move to analyze our poem. You know Beowulf from the Anglo-Saxon literature. We don't know the author. It's a poem translated from the Old English. Here we should mention, guys, we have a magic number. Number 3 is a magic number here. We have 3 funerals. Number 1, the battle with the Grendel, the battle with the monster. Number 2, the battle with Grendel's mother. Number 3, Beowulf final battle with dragon. The story ends with the funeral of Beowulf. You know, Beowulf represents goodness, honor, loyalty. As you know, he's a courageous, generous, strong, fearless. So let's start with the background of our poem. 30,000 lines of Anglo-Saxon poetry survive today. More than 3,000 lines are from Beowulf, sitting Denmark and Sweden, author unknown, composed in the 7th or 8th century, oldest surviving English poem. The Anglo-Saxon culture, they believe in fate, fame and fortune, loyalty to one's leader crucial, importance of pagan, here mixed values, pagan and Christian values. The Anglo-Saxon culture here, the description of the warrior, fierce, hard life of warrior, strength, courage, leadership, abilities appreciated. The Anglo-Saxon ideals, codes of conduct, good defeats evil. So the main theme, guys, God versus evil. Death and defeat, hospitality, honor, loyalty, heroism. Fair fights are the only honorable fights. Epic poem, long narrative poem that recounts the adventures of a hero. Elevated language, doesn't sermonize, begins in media res. You know, mysterious origins, superpowers. You know, the genre of this poem is fictional, so it talks about supernatural power, like the magic sword, like the monster Grendel. So this kind of genre, this kind of literature represents these things. Here, elements of Anglo-Saxon poetry. Number 1, chant-like effect of the 4-beat line. Alliteration, which means the similar sounds of the initial sounds, the first sounds of every line. Here we have kenning, a metaphorical phrase used instead of name, 2 words to represent 1 word, like battle played, ring giver, here described in this poem. Hyperbole, exaggeration, which means exaggeration. Metaphors, similes used here in this poem. The title of our epic poem from Beowulf. What's the meaning of Beowulf? Bea means bright or noble. The Anglo-Saxon word wolf means wolf. Here, so Beowulf means bright or noble wolf. Here we have some important dates. The poetry in Beowulf. Number one, alliteration. Alliterative verse, repetition of initial sounds of words occurs in every line. B, generally 4 feet, beats per line. C, bows between beats 2 and 4. D, no rhyme. Kennings, compound metaphor, usually 2 words. Most were probably used over and over. For instance, for example, on raid literally means whale road, but can be translated as sea. The setting, time, and place, between Sweden and Denmark. So it's Europe today. Here, a Scop, a bard or a storyteller. The Scop was responsible for praising deeds of past heroes, for recording history, and for providing entertainment. Thane, a warrior. Mid-hall, the large hall where the lord and his warriors slept, ate, held ceremonies, etc. Fate. This idea crops up a lot in the poem, while at the same time there are Christian references to God's will. There's a mixed ideas, mixed between pagan and Christian values. Main characters, we have Beowulf, our hero, Hrothgar the king, Grendel, our monster, which represents the evil, Grendel's mother, fire dragon that killed Beowulf at last. Beowulf is much admired for the richness of its poetry, for the beautiful sounds of the words and imaginative quality of description. Kennings used here 2 words to make 1 word, like mist bands, God accursed, cloud murk, hall defenders, iron praised. Some well-known Anglo-Saxon kennings include bone house, which means a human body, battle light, sword, wave floater, ship. Descriptions of the sea included whale road, fish home, seal path. So you can create your own now. Try to create some kennings. See if you can describe yourself or your home or school using this technique. Consider how do the kennings help you describe what you're trying to say. Do they affect the rhythm and the sound of the language? Do you find this technique easier, more creative, harder, more confusing, or more powerful than using everyday words? So let's see.